Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the International Book Show. I'm host Makonnen Sankofa. As well as being the host of the International Book Show, I am also an author myself. The books I've written include The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, Repatriation, Life in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa, How to Market and Sell Your Book, A Guide for Beginners, and Experiences of Living Across Africa. Now, if you haven't watched the International Book Show virtual book tour before, this is a showcase, a platform where a variety of different authors get a certain period of time to talk about their books. They are authors in different locations who have written books on a variety of different subjects. So the International Book Show, it began in May 2020. So it's been over 4 years and 6 months now. And I'm proud to say that I've had over 400 authors, publishers, booksellers, and people on the book in the book industry that have been on this platform. So without any further ado, I'm gonna hand it over to the first author, who is Simone Milwood, and she's gonna tell you all about the book she's written.
Hi, my name is Simone Milwood, and I am the author of Rage, Resistance, and Redemption. The book itself is a collection of poems, and it's 78 pages of an emotional roller coaster that showcases lived experiences, some my own and some that I've put into words on behalf of others who are no longer here, and those stories that they can no longer tell. So the poems themselves are a collection of poems that describe and put into words the feelings, the finer feelings, the hurts, the fears, the joys, the confidence, the empowerment that is always needed within the Black community. We have poems for men specifically here that empower them, and we have poems for women that empower them also. There is always a poem for someone, no matter their age, no matter their background, no matter what they've been through in life. There is a poem that will strike the accord within anyone within this book and within this collection of poems. So one of the things that made me write Rage, Resistance, and Redemption, I was looking at how, in many ways, the Black community still have not not so, I would say, not so blatantly, but it's like very subtle, and it's an undercurrent. There's this idea that by the way that we're treated, not just in the UK, but around the world, that there is this idea that we're still one-fifth human. And I wanted to challenge all of these types of stereotypes because, make no mistake, it is a glorious and a great thing to be a Black man or a Black woman. And I've always felt that Blackness is not something that we truly have an issue with, but it's the way that we're treated by others because of that. And so I didn't realize when I was a lot younger about how image kind of is, well, the Black image, I should say, is so very carefully calculated and created by other people as well. And so it was only when I became a teenager to a young adult that I realized that the Black that is projected to the world can be very, very different from what true being a true Black person is, or my lived experience as a Black person. So, as a woman who is not only a Black woman, a Black proud woman coming from a very proud Jamaican heritage on both sides, I wanted to provide insights that would not only challenge the stereotypes, but they would actually use them as a way of being able to break down preconceived notions, assumptions, as well as ways of communicating that people understood as truth when it was truly not. So, this is my collection of poems that come from truth, that come from an authentic place. And the poems allow us to explore our hurts. The poems allow us to explore our anger because, like I said, with many stereotypes, we're seen as, the angry Black man, the angry Black woman. And I wanted us to really take a scientific look and a spiritual look into these titles that are given. And I wanted to humanize us because I feel like we've been demonized in a way where our humanity is often questioned, and we have to prove that we are human when we are literally the the original human beings and the blueprint for all humanity. So my poems don't just explore sadness, anger, rage, but they look at it so that we can call forth healing for ourselves. It's one thing to be angry, and it's another thing to understand why people are angry. And I realized that in order for us to be seen as beautiful and independent people, we had to be we had to be able to tell our own stories, and these collections of poems are my story and other people's stories. And I realized that it's only when we take control of our own narrative and we control our own narrative and we are seen being the head and, marketing and promoting and being fully behind our messages and our stories that we can have true authenticity through true control. And we can also be able to allow a platform and a space for ourselves to speak, to vent, to heal, and to also come together. Because you can have a being in the Black community is a large community, and then so many of us can feel so alone, so different from the masses. And these poems allow us to explore ourselves as a community. These poems allow us to explore ourselves as individuals, and it allows us to create niches within a grand and a great community, but doing so in a way that we can all understand each other, no matter how different we are, no matter our religion, no matter where we come from, our cultures, because there's so many different cultures within the Black community. And I wanted to explore our hearts. I wanted to explore our souls. I wanted to explore our divinity. And I wanted us to remember who we are and where we come from. And I wanted us to, make good on all of those sacrifices that many people have made for our behalves so that we could have better lives. The fact that we could even, the fact that we could even, um, exist after the tortures and the terrible atrocities done to us via slavery, and even coming on after that, the ability to, stand tall against the people who had colonized you for such a long time, to be able to speak and hold your own in places where you know that you potentially could be the minority when you don't want to do, the mundane tasks and job roles, which are important in itself, but still they are mundane. When you want to create your own platforms because you see that you don't want to be placed into a box, you don't want somebody else to control your narrative. You want to be able to speak because we are the original orators, we are the original storytellers, we are the original writers, we are the original artists and scientists. And, these poems allow us to explore ourselves in a way that sometimes we're not allowed to explore, that we're not encouraged to, where others would be. And these poems, shed light in a way that shows our hurt, but does so in a way where we can find ways of being able to, help ourselves as well as help each other. Because one of my main focuses is building up the community. But a community can only be built up when every individual, their needs are being dealt with, their needs are being heard, their feelings, their hurt, their joy, and that they're being built up regardless of these things. So my poems are about hope as well as our hurt, our pain. That's the reason why I said rage. resistance, and redemption. So the rage obviously covers all of our hurts, our pain, and the PTSD that's handed down via the DNA, as well as the anger at which we're treated by us, the way that we treat ourselves, as well as the outside world treating us. And then the rage also ignites that spirit, that passion for us to, move forward and to do something great with ourselves as well. Not just to be angry and to stay in that anger, but to also move forward in a way where our anger is that propelling force that allows us to move forward with such speed and such greatness and such fanfare that everybody has to get out of our way because they cannot stop us. We are the unstoppable force. Then resistance is making sure that regardless of the things that come against us, so it's the mental health, it's the way that we feel about ourselves when we listen to those negative thoughts, when we don't know who we are and we're not interested in finding out more about ourselves, when we don't want to, you know, say no when other people are saying yes, when we don't feel like we want to fit into a box of somebody else's making. It's that resistance that allows us to have that indomitable spirit, that allows us to move forward, that allows us to keep going, that says yes, everything that is different about us, from that beautiful melanin that graces the richness of our bodies, from the way that our nose, it doesn't have to be long and narrow, it can be wide, and it can look like a mushroom, or it can look like it can be wide and free, just like the Egyptians and the people that came before, the Olmecs, and all of these other great nations of people. So it's about the resistance is about taking hold of our own features, our own identity, and being unapologetically us, being unapologetically confident, empowering the young ones so they don't have to feel the insecurities that we did. When I grew up, we didn't really have black dolls like that. We didn't have outlets or social media where we could go onto a video, or we could go onto a website and we could see people who look like us, where they weren't just the thief, they weren't the person killing or selling drugs, but they were the person who had done well for themselves. They had the happy home, they had the complete home with the mum, the dad, and the children, and all were happy, all were unified, and the resistance is also making sure that we create and we tell our own stories. It's important that our stories are being told, because other people will tell a version of our story that enables them to look good and for us to be dependent on them. And I want to be fully independent in all ways. And I want to create platforms of speech and of empowerment, of communication. And I want to teach others how to do that as well, so that they don't have to run, they don't have to be in, jobs that they, although they love their jobs, that they know that they're not going to go very high, or they're not going to be able to really be independent of the hand that's a lot of the time biting them as much as it is feeding them. So the resistance enables us to find our healing, find our strengths, find our weaknesses so that we can be better, find ways of helping ourselves and helping each other, remembering why it's so important to stick with each other as well, because we are literally all that we have. We're more than just a body, we're more than just a sexual image, we're more than all of these low vibrational things that are put out in order to keep us in a low vibrational way of life. We are beyond that if only we allow ourselves to hope, we allow ourselves to, move forward fearlessly. So the redemption allows us to be able to stop making the mistakes that our forefathers did, for us to keep moving strong, to see what works in other communities and implement that in our community, putting money into our community, being consistent, working with each other for generations, establishing bonds, really having that confidence that nobody can shake, as an individual, as a community, as a people, as a nation, as a culture, and everything else, because there's so much space for all of us to win, for all of us to do well. We don't have to be competing with each other. There doesn't have to be just one alpha male or one alpha female. All of us have the potential of being great in our own way, and all of us need to be different parts of one body. And this is the culmination of various different poems that express different things in different timelines. So each poem represents a timeline from the birth of creation to the current time. So all of these different poems enable us to be able to experience the highs, the lows, and everything else that comes with being a Black person, but to also share in the reasons why we need to do well for ourselves, because other people suffer terribly, so that we could even be here. And we have to make sure that we are moving forward together and not just one person here, one person there, because there is no power there truly. We need to be able to work together, and we need to work on ourselves as individuals and as a community. And Rage, Resistance, and Redemption is a book that enables us to see all sides of various different spectrums of that Black identity, that Black story. And this is my way of being able to share mine and the stories of many others. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Simone, for joining us on this edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Talk video show, October 2024. On display at the moment, you can see the front cover of the book written by Simone Milwood. The book is titled Rage, Resistance, and Redemption. Her website is www.songsofsimone.co.uk, and that's where you can buy a copy of the book from. You can also get a copy of the book online via Amazon. Once again, the author of the book is Simone Milwood. The book title is Rage, Resistance, and Redemption. Her website is www.songsofsimone.co.uk, where you can purchase a copy of the book, and you can also buy a copy of the book online via Amazon.
Hello, everybody. It is an honor to be able to talk about my new book today, Your Right to Protest, Understand It, Use It. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to do this, and going to speak a bit about it, but in order to speak a bit about it, I need you to understand a bit about me. So my name is Christian Weaver. I'm a human rights barrister, and I spent a good few years now representing people that feel powerless in the face of the law. So much so that actually this is the second book I've now written. My first book, The Law in 60 Seconds, A Pocket Guide to Your Rights, is a book that was born out of me realizing that people don't know their rights in this country, and it's having dire consequences. And I'm delighted that both books are now available in all good bookstores, and online as well. But I want you to see life through my lens and some of the things I've seen, and it will hopefully show you why these books are so important, and potentially why you should maybe consider buying one for yourself or a family member. So a bit about me as a barrister. I am currently on the COVID-19 public inquiry, where I represent two different groups. And through that, I've seen how vital it is that people stand up and make their voices heard. I've also been recognized within my profession. I was winner of the Legal Aid Lawyer of the Year award, the Newcomer Award. And I'm also the barrister to the family of Awab Ishaq. Now, some of you, particularly from the UK, but perhaps not internationally as well, may have heard of Awab Ishaq. He was the 2-year-old boy who tragically died due to prolonged exposure to mold in his home in Rochdale, which is in the north of England. It was a tragic case, and as a result of campaigning that's been done after the case and people rallying together and standing up for this family, the law has now changed, which will mean that a repeat of that incident should never happen again. So this book, Your Right to Protest, I should say from the get-go, it's not a book that's just about protest in the way that we might imagine it. That's marches, banners, megaphones. But it's also about those everyday moments when we need to stand up for ourselves, when we assert our rights in those smaller, more personal battles. Both are important, and it's both that this book will talk about. Bit of my background personally, I grew up in a city called Nottingham, which is in the Midlands, and one of my earliest childhood memories is my grandfather being subjected to racist attacks at his home in Nottingham, People were spreading dog feces on his car. And he put a placard up outside of the house and it said, "This family will not be intimidated by racists." And I remember at the time thinking it was such a powerful and strong act, albeit so peaceful, but so powerful and strong. And the racist attacks stopped. And my grandparents were no longer left feeling victimized in their own home. But why that's important is for this reason. My grandparents had already tried to contact the police, and for whatever reason, the police weren't going to deal with it, which is why he had to take matters into his own hands. And I think for so many of us out here living in society now, we can't necessarily trust the institutions that are meant to be protecting us in the ways that we might like to. And what that fundamentally means is that we need to be empowered with knowledge of the law so that we can stand up for ourselves. We need to be empowered of knowledge of the law so that if we find ourselves in systems such as the court system or interacting with authority, we actually know our rights and we know how to interact with those systems so that we aren't at the mercy of those systems, but we can get what we deserve out of them. And this isn't me saying this to just adults. I'm saying this to children as well. Children that are in stop and search situations at 13, 14, 15 years old. Um, Adults that might find themselves, it could be an issue with an employer, it could be an issue with a landlord. You need to know your rights when you're against authority. And the law in 60 seconds and your right to protest do this. The law in 60 seconds provides you with the A to Z of the everyday legal rights you need to know. And your right to protest then helps you stand up for yourself in that more proactive way. So why does protest matter today? We're living in some seriously turbulent times. And one of the key things we're realizing, as I say, is that the powers that be, we can't necessarily trust in the same way. If we look at the police, for example, there are massively disproportionate numbers when we look at stop and search. When I last checked, we're actually 9 times more likely to be stopped and searched if you're black. And governments successively have really curtailed this ability to protest. They've clamped down on it. What that's created is what we might call a chilling effect. And it means that there are people out there, perhaps yourself included, who actually you might watch the TV and you might see issues that you think it's really important to protest about, but you're scared to. And you're rightly scared because so much of the law has been clawed away. And that creates this chilling effect, as I say. And people that might ordinarily protest are scared to do so. So, what this book does is it informs you of all of the rights you have when you protest, where those boundaries lie, enabling you to protest with confidence. And that's what we need to be doing at times like this. We can't sit back with things we're watching. Being able to protest but confidently is essential. And it also reminds you, and I hope government read this as well, but it's also a reminder that Articles 10 and Articles 11 of the European Convention on Human Rights guarantee your right to protest. They ensure our right to protest. So the book's in some ways to combat this narrative and showing you, yes, you have the power to protest, and it will now empower you to protest, but staying on the right side of the law as well. And importantly, and both books do this, it shows you what to do if things go wrong as well. So if you protest and you then find yourself arrested, what are your rights when you're in police custody? It's devastating to me that so many people think, I wish I knew my rights there after the event. If you're in police custody, you absolutely need to know your rights before you end up in there. You can't be there at the time not knowing your rights. And as I said at the start, protest to me is more than just marching. So this book will talk to you about how to take action against an employer. It will talk to you about how to make a freedom of information request, how to make a subject access request so that you can see the information that a body holds about you. These are all steps we have, laws we have as individuals that can empower us against the bodies and organizations that are in authority. But because we're never taught our rights in school, because there's no such thing as public legal education classes, or certainly as part of a curriculum, we don't know these rights. And actually, that puts us on such a weaker footing when it comes to us being the people we need to be and exerting our rights in society. And fundamentally, empowerment is crucial, right? Because every time there was an opportunity where our rights were, or someone walked all over us and we didn't know how to stand up for ourselves, what that does on a very subtle level is it erodes away at our confidence. It chips it down, chips it down, chips it down. And it makes it harder to use your voice for the very next time that an issue might occur. You probably should use your voice, but because you're not in the routine of doing so, you're not in the habit of doing so, the person or the organization's able to get away with it again and again and again. And before you know it, and this is the case for, I believe, so many people in society, you're a shell of the person you once were because you've just been consistently, continually walked all over. These books are there to stop it. You don't need to feel at fault if that's been your life previously, the life of those around you, because we were never taught our legal rights. But now there are books out there to educate us that are incredibly cheap. They'll probably be likely some of the cheapest books you will find in a bookshop, but they're there to give you that education. And it's not written from the lens of somebody who thinks this system's perfect. No, it's written by myself who has seen the full flaws that can exist in the system as well. Someone who still very much has a foot in the real world as opposed to this barrister world. And it's from that lens that I'm giving you this information. So thank you for listening to me. And in terms of my call to action, I believe that every single citizen in this country, particularly if you're from a background that historically has been treated badly by authority, you need this book. You need these books, The Law in 60 Seconds, A Pocket Guide to Your Rights, and Your Rights to Protest, Understand It, Use It. And even if you're an individual that feels confident on your rights, whether it's your younger brother, your younger sister, a cousin, a family member, maybe an aunt, maybe a relative, they might need this book. And if they're informed of their rights, they're empowered, the ramifications that can have for them and their wider community is huge. So that's my plea. I would ask you to seriously consider if these books can help you. Thank you once again for your time. And I'm always open to be contacted. So I look forward to hearing from anybody if they do have interest. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Christian, for joining us on this edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour video show. On display at the moment, you can see a photo of the front cover of Christian's book titled Your Right to Protest, Understand It, Use It. Christian's other book is called The Law in 60 Seconds, A Pocket Guide to Your Rights. And both of those books are available via the website profilebooks.com. If you go on profilebooks.com and then you search and type Christian Weaver, the books will come up. Alternatively, both of those books are available to be purchased from Amazon. Once again, that is author Christian Weaver. The titles of his books are Your Right to Protest, Understand It, Use It, and The Law in 60 Seconds, A Pocket Guide to Your Rights. The website where you can purchase those books is profilebooks.com. If you just type and search Christian Weaver, both the books will come up. Alternatively, you can get both copies of both of those books via Amazon.
Hi, everyone. I'm M.H. Appleton, author of The Hand of Many's, a fast-paced political action thriller about an African secret society on a perilous crusade to unite the African continent as one country under one ruler. And the reason behind this is to free the continent of colonial control. The book is currently available. I'll show it again. The book is currently available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, the Great British Bookshop, and on my website, mhappleton.com, and all major platforms as well. It's currently only in paperback format. And in terms of the writing style, it's written in third person from multiple points of view, kind of similar to how the Game of Thrones series are written. In terms of the scene locations, in this first installment of the series, readers will be taken across two continents, namely Africa and the North African continent. And the main characters are they have character traits that you will either love or hate. And the emotions that they will evoke will take you on a very turbulent ride based on comments from individuals that have read it so far. Already on Facebook, there is, I must admit, an unexpected heated debate about the very content and what I would say plot line of this book because of its sort of a unique spin. Now, my background is I'm Jamaican, and I was also brought up in Jamaica and came to the UK, which I'm currently living in, at a very late stage in adulthood, practically at the age of 30. And what I find is that the books and contents that we have, literature and movies that we have out at the moment is not really representative of the African experience. And so I've set out to, what inspired me to write this book is I grew frustrated at how Africans are portrayed in movies and literature. I mean, for the most part, we're either drug dealers, gangbangers, what I would say entertainers, or delinquent moms and dads. I wanted to experience a different reality. And so I set out on a journey to craft a story where we are the masters of our story rather than the victims of it. The book, it's an interesting journey in writing this book. It took me about 2.5 years from start to finish. And it was published in October 2024, this month. I was trying to coincide it with the Black History Month celebration. So hopefully that goes over well. And at this point, I would encourage you to go over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or the Great British Bookshop, or even on my website, mhappleton.com, to grab yourself a copy. And once you do, may I ask that you leave a review so that I and other potential readers can be helped by your thoughts on the story itself. Now, the idea behind the name, it's an interesting story, this. The idea behind the name, The Hand of Many's, is I wanted to pay tribute to one of our ancient ancestors, the pharaoh, the African pharaoh Menes, who was the one who united Upper and Lower Kemet, thereby bringing in a period of peace and prosperity. And I did that because I believe as creatives, we should use whatever platform we have, be it a large platform or one that's starting out, we should use that opportunity to give a nod of acknowledgement to those who came before us and those who contributed greatly to who we were, we are, and who we're to become. Now, this book will take you on a very, very heart-wrenching journey. Readers will be exposed to and immersed deeply in instances of political corruption, graphic violence, betrayal, unexpected love, revenge, torture. So those are some of the trigger tropes that I think it's important for you to know. But at the end of it, most importantly, you will feel a sense of pride and power that for once, we as African people are making an attempt to reshape our own existence and future in preparing this world for those to follow. And just bear in mind, it's a work of fiction. So already, as I said, on Facebook, there's this heated debate from all over the world where some people forgot that it is a work of fiction. So it's an interesting book, and I hope that you will find it very enjoyable and entertaining, but most importantly, inspirational. So please go over to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the Great British Bookshop, or my website, mhappleton.com, and grab your copy. And you'll see when you're finished at the end of it, there's a QR code for you to leave your review. Try to make it easy for you. At this point, I would like to thank Makonnen for giving me the opportunity to present this book to his followers. And I hope that those of you who are interested in reading it or who have read it can reach out to me personally and let me know what you think. Thank you very much.
And how can people reach out to you personally in case they want to reach out to you directly?
Yeah, on my website, there is a link on the contact us page for people to reach out to me via my Telegram link or WhatsApp, whichever they prefer. So that's one other way I try to make it as simple as possible for people to just link in with me. So that's the main means that they could use. Or alternatively, they could reach me at info@mhappleton.com. But Telegram and WhatsApp are the primary means of contact.
Okay, can you just repeat the email address one more time and the website as well?
Sure. The email that you can reach me on is info@mhappleton.com. And the website where you can grab a copy, or one of the websites where you can grab a copy of the book for yourself, is www.mhappleton.com.
So on display at the moment, you can see the front cover of the book by M.H. Appleton. The book is titled The Hand of Denise. His website is www.mhappleton.com. You can get a copy of the book directly via the website, or you can get the book via Amazon. Once again, that is author M.H. Appleton. The book title is The Hand of Denise. His website is www.mhappleton.com. You can get the book via the website. Alternatively, you can also order the book via Amazon.
I am Natural Mystic. I am an author of 3 books, co-authored 2, and I have just published my own solo publication. Here it is there. So this is the book cover. I've always been interested in writing. I like vocabulary and that sort of thing. So I've always played around with poetry, spoken word, and this was something that I've always been meaning to do as part of the legacy, as in the Natural Mystic legacy. The book itself has taken a couple of years to actually come to fruition. I started thinking about it or manifested it in 2020 while we was on lockdown. I spoke to a few people about what the content would be like, and they seemed quite excited, curious. So I started in 2020. I put it away for a really long time, just purely because the subject matter was quite sensitive. I hadn't quite healed myself, and there were still some things from my past that were bothering me. Since then, I've come a long way. Like I said, I co-authored 2 books, and then I decided to put myself into therapy last year. And throughout that process of speaking to my therapist and realizing that I'd actually come quite a lot further in my healing journey than what I'd thought. So that was then sort of the reactivation, should I say, and the motivation to actually get this book kind of more so started and then completed. So I made a promise to myself last year, 2023, that by sort of April, May time of 2024, the book could be done. And once I'd made that promise to myself, I didn't want to let myself down or let anybody else down, because I was still being asked, where's the book? Where's the book? So I completed it May of this year, 2024, went into publication, spoken with my publisher, my proofreader, and finally got it out and about on Amazon currently at the moment. It will be available in other bookstores such as Waterstone and a few independent bookstores as well. It's also going to be available on audio book as well in ebook format. So there's a few things coming, a few things still happening, a few things sort of still in the pipeline that are sort of manifesting and coming to fruition there as well. So yes, July of this year, I became a published author. I went with a publisher who knew me way before the book itself, and it was a pleasure to work with her and her company. I didn't do much editing because I didn't want my actual vernacular or the era that I'm from in Northwest London to be edited out. So there are parts of the book that are still sort of in slang or in that 90s kind of era that are, you know, that I lived in this part of the book. So this is book 1 of 3. I'll just hold it up again for you all. So this one is about body count. And the small print there, I won't read it, but I'm sure you can pick it up. There we go. All right. So it's kind of like a bedroom kind of boudoir, a bit like other books that are out there that done really, really well. But this one is definitely like what it says on the title. So we know that body count or that terminology has been ringing around on social media and different podcasts and different forms of people, men and women, have been speaking about, like, you know, the number of partners somebody's had or whether that lowers their value or increases their value. And so all of these terms started coming about. And this book, because like I said, has been in my mind since before all of these conversations started taking place. And then it started to get kind of ramped up more so on social media, I would say, you know, with the red pill, blue pill kind of conversation that men were having. And throughout the process, I kind of felt judged, maybe a little bit, criticized, you know, it's that sort of thing. If the cap fits, do you wear it type thing? And I thought, well, no, actually, I'm not going to make any excuses for what it is that I've done in my past. It doesn't determine who I am now. There are loads of reasons as to why I would say body count does matter to some, not everybody. And it just proved to me that I'm in a place where I can take accountability and responsibility for my actions from being an early teen or even pre-teen, if you want to put it there, all the way through my adult life. And yeah, it was kind of difficult, like I said, in the beginning to start writing, but then it kind of just flowed. I felt myself healing, kind of laughing and going through lots of different thought processes. So the delay in publishing it was purely because I didn't want certain family members to read it type thing. I hadn't really spoken to them about some of the stuff that I'd been through. And then I finally kind of just gone, do you know what? If they read it, they read it. It is what it is. So there is, you know, I would say it's 100% true from my perspective in the book. I haven't spoken to any of the guys that are actually in the book or made them aware. So I've changed their names, I may have changed, you know, certain locations to try and protect them. So this isn't about blaming anybody. This isn't about pointing fingers at anybody else. It's just a very small segment of my life that I've decided to put in the book or in writing. So book 2 is also going to be kind of a continuation of book 1. And then book 3 is kind of like the conclusion, should we say, or the things I've learned, or the things that the process of writing these books has helped me change. And to be able to take it to do talks with younger women, to try and avoid some of the pitfalls or try and avoid some of the mistakes that I would say that I've made, or some of the decisions that I've made and choices that I made that weren't probably in my best interest. So it's kind of a full circle. It gives you a bit of backstory, a bit of the process of when I realized things weren't going well or when things needed to change. And then conclusive, like I said, with what I've learned from those experiences and how I can potentially guide, I wouldn't say women predominantly or younger girls predominantly, but also in how men think about women or how they treat women, and then the aftermath of what's left after a relationship breakdown, or when you've had, you know, sort of an intimate interaction with the opposite sex type thing. So yeah, it's one of those ones where it's going to hopefully open up a bit more of an honest dialogue. And like I said, it's not to judge, it's not to criticize, it's not to belittle or to diminish anybody's experiences, especially my own, but more so to just, yeah, have that honest conversation with myself and with others. So that's where I am with the book itself. There is merchandise that will be coming along as well, just to try and soften the blow, should we say. You know, there's a bit of humor in there as well. So there are elements of the book that some people may find triggering. It may kind of tap into what you might say their PTSD, or they have had similar experiences. And it's not to sort of stir up those types of emotions, but it is to actually help people think a bit differently, perhaps, or see things from a slightly different perspective, not just from my sort of experiences, but from their own experiences. There is also a hard copy of the book, and this is a limited edition. As you can see, oh, there it is, sorry. As you can see, there's limited edition. And within this one, there are some probing questions, I would say, or some prompts to start to enable people to have those conversations, not just with your friends and family, but maybe with your partner or your spouse. It's supposed to be light-hearted, but in a way, sometimes we don't always know how to put certain questions across, or, you know, some people may say that the question's too direct, and it makes them feel uncomfortable in answering it. So there's just a few hints and tips in the back of this particular limited edition book, which would help, I suppose, like I said, start the conversation, and for people to be open and honest and start trusting their sort of their partner a bit more, or being able to say stuff that maybe you wouldn't normally say or converse about. I find that a lot of people, when, you know, they're dating and that sort of thing, you have kind of these interview questions that you perhaps put forward. And then when you move into the more seriousness or exclusivity, you know, in that relationship, kind of conversation changes slightly. You don't want to seem as if, like I said, you're interrogating the person that you're potentially, you know, falling in love with or have feelings for or care for. So that's the main purpose for me having the limited edition with the extra questions, but just writing the book in general. Like I said, it was really a healing process. I didn't find it as difficult as I thought it would once I'd overcome some of the feelings or some of the thoughts. And like I said, therapy was a huge part of me not being such a harsh critic of myself, or feeling as if I'm not worthy and that sort of thing. And then also, you know, not having children, there were times that I didn't feel like a complete woman in that sense. I hadn't had that experience to be able to share that with, you know, that experience with friends and family who do have children. So there were a lot of things going through my mind. So the books themselves do delve into that. Book one is probably just a bit of a candid tell all, a little bit graphic in areas. So yeah, I would say to read it with caution, but I wanted it to be a page turner. I wanted it to be something that people would be curious to see what happens next and what happens next. So feedback that I've had so far is exactly what it is that I was looking for. Definitely a page turner. Definitely, I couldn't wait to read the next chapter. You know, I've had people question me why the chapters are titled certain things, but it all relates to the people that I'm speaking about in the book. It just, you know, there were sections in it where I even questioned my own sexuality, for example. So yeah, there is a little bit of everything for everybody, I would say. There is an 18 plus on there, just purely because, yeah, like I said, it is graphic, it is candid. It's probably a conversation that parents may want to have with their children, but I wouldn't really want anyone under the age of 18 to kind of just pick it up and start reading it. And then I was also worried about what people would think once they'd read it, or what they'd think of me, or how they would speak to me. And what I've kind of said to everybody who has read it is that, treat me the same as what you would normally treat me. And if you do have questions, ask, quite frankly. I wouldn't have put this type of information out there if I wasn't prepared for people to sort of maybe look at me with a bit of a side eye, or to look at me and, and kind of not be nervous, but kind of, there are bits about, I want to know more. So yeah, it is, like I said, it's been an interesting roller coaster of a journey to actually get the book out there. And now that it's out there, I'm actually just enjoying the ride. I really do hope that, you all kind of, engage with me, interact with me on my various different social media platforms. As you can see, Natural Mystic is my author name. Natural Mystic is what I use on social media. So that's Instagram, TikTok, and you can also find me on Facebook. I do have other platforms that I'm utilizing as well. I have a podcast out there, and that is on varying platforms at the moment, such as Spotify, SoundCloud, and that sort of thing. So hopefully, you've got a little bit of my essence and what the book is about. And if you do read it, feel free to approach. And book 2 and 3 will be out in the next year and the year after. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I am Natural Mystic, and I am the author of Body Count.
Thanks, Natural Mystic, for joining us on this episode of the International Book Show. You can see the book by Natural Mystic, the front cover of the book on display screen at the moment. The book is titled Body Count, More Than a Walking Vagina, and it is available to be purchased from via Amazon. Once again, that is author Natural Mystic. The title of the book is called Body Count, More Than a Walking Vagina, and you can buy a copy of the book from Amazon.
Greetings, everyone. This is Denise coming in at you from the UK, England, in a place called Hackney. So who am I? My field. I am a psychotherapist of 38 years and a writer since 9 years old. The kind of therapist I am, psychotherapist, is I call myself a transformation psychotherapist, because I very much work with the heart and the healing of the heart, because I think a lot of life's issues comes from the heart, as it's said in Proverbs 4:23, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Yeah. And Adrian Rogers put it a different way. He said, the heart of the human problem is the problem of the human heart. Okay, so that's the heart of my work and of who I am. I'm also a clinical supervisor, so that means I supervise therapists in their work. And also an inspiration life coach, and that branch of my tree very much supports people who have dreams and or callings, but lack the confidence and have experienced certain traumas and life experiences that gets in the way of them really living out that call in an confident, assured, and wholehearted way. So I support people who come through my therapy practice wanting more of that kind of support. Okay, so that's a brief introduction into who I am and my work. So why I'm here today on the Black Book Show is I'm going to talk about my books. So I've called my books the Back to Love series trilogy. So there's 3 books. One is Back to Love. That's the first one, which was published in 2021. The second of the series, Inner Life Rights, Manifesto for Reconnecting to Love, renewing your mind and radiating your light. That I wrote that during COVID, and that was published 2023. And the third and final book in the trilogy, which is a book of poems. I won't say the name yet, because I've just sent that into publishers, and I'm looking for that to come out next year. Yeah, so I'm here today to talk about Back to Love and Inner Life Rights. Okay, so let's start with Back to Love, the first book. So Back to Love is my healing journey, the healing of my heart and all that had gone wrong for me in that place. So it's called Back to Love, and it's about my healing on the different levels. So the psychological, because I've experienced childhood trauma as well as adverse childhood experiences. So it's psychological healing, racial healing, because I'm a Black woman in these times, and that comes with a trauma of its own and a miseducation and a misshaping. And also spiritual healing and development, because that was very much part of my healing. The spiritual take healing, living, learning to a different level than the psychological, in my experience and opinion. And the cultural healing, which wraps it all up, because I think even if you haven't been through childhood trauma or adverse childhood experiences, the way the world is and the people it's been set up to champion and support and propel in this world, it works against all people. It's not inclusive, it's not equal. As we all know, I'm stating the obvious. If you don't know this by now, you never will, and you actually don't want to. So I think everybody who leaves their childhood has to go off before you can call yourself a fully fledged, mature, emotional, intelligent, adult. We need to go off and do our own independent investigation of the truth. Yeah, because the truth is something that isn't served up well in society. And we're doing this during Black History Month. I always say, well, I think when we say Black, we should call it what it is, African History Month. Whether you're coming out of Africa and now calling yourself African Caribbean or African American, it's African History Month, which I also call, to expand it out of that box, world history, because we're not taught world history has truly unfolded going back to however far mankind can go back, because none of us was here from the beginning of time. Yeah. So Back to Love is my healing journey, and it spans 23 years from when I was 16, 17, the last year in secondary school, 1981, and it ends when I turn 40. Gosh, I can't remember exactly what year that was. I'm going to be 60 in January, so sorry, this menopausal brain. But anyway, yeah, it spends 23 years from 16 to 40 years, and that's when I'm doing all that healing. And it starts with the stirrings of change, and the stirrings of change began for me when I made the decision at 17 years old to become a mother. And the definite decision of change happened when I became a mother and therefore a teacher, and I promised my child and myself a new start. So for my son, it was going to be the best of starts, and for me, it was going to be my new start where I turned my life around and headed off in a direction I believed that as things hadn't been how they were in my childhood, you know, I would have been on. Yeah, so this is me turning my life around, which has set me on this journey, and I'm still on this journey today. And Back to Love also talks about the process of change. So it's the stirrings of change, the decision to change, and the process of change. And the process of change tells its own story, because life is a process, change is a process. And as a therapist, we work with the process in the consultation room. You know, it's a time-honored process. Yeah, that has its own reason, meaning, lessons. So I talk about that, and you see it plays out as I'm sharing my healing journey, especially in my relationships with the people of my past, the people in my then present, the people at work, and in the different therapy that I went through, personal and group therapy. And I've really put my heart and soul in this book because I've written it for people who can't afford good quality therapy. So it's a great self-help book about healing and realizing dreams. Okay, so this takes me into inner life rights, because a friend of mine who I met from this time of my life, she read Back to Love, and she was saying she wanted to hear more about where I am on the journey today. Like I said, 20 years later. Yeah, and that was something that she didn't get from Back to Love, understandably, because I ended it at 40. My life was beginning in a new, more whole and integrated way. So it was during COVID that I thought that I would rectify that. But the difference between Back to Love and Inner Life Rights is that Inner Life Rights updates you on my personal healing journey, but it also takes healing and transformation and learning to move forward and progress. You know, it's a symbol of the Sankofa, into the collective, because, you know, it's about, at this time in history, and COVID, I believe, came to teach us that it's about, you know, no man is an island. It's about healing personally and collective. It's about one race, the human race. It's about one planet, Earth. And those two places need some serious healing and paradigm shifting. So inner life rights is psycho-political and psycho-spiritual, and packs punch. Yeah. And it's not written in any kind of chronological order. It's comprised of deeply thought through and heartfelt reflections, essays. It's part memoir. It's got some case studies in it. And did I say poems? And poems. Yeah. So let's say a little bit more about Inner Life Rights.
You've just got a couple of minutes left.
Couple of minutes. Oh, so I can't say too much, but I cover so much ground in this book, and it's a book that you pick up. You can go and pick out particular areas you want to look at and sit with it, and you'll get some deep nuggets of wisdom from it. So, you know, for example, in the first part, I call personal historical. Like I said, we look at childhood trauma, racial trauma, complex trauma, and its recovery. In the second part, psychosocial, we look at healing from trauma, you know, in the collective, especially as it relates to the pandemic that is Black on Black crime, young people dying before their time. This really needs to be addressed, and the impacts on young people, the community, and you know, the magnitude of loss and grieving in the community. It also looks at, you know, Black people dying at the hands of the law. Part 3 is looking at, you know, healing, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, relationships, toxic workplace environments. I hear so much about this from my clients, especially Black female clients or Black clients, and all the micromanagement and racism institutionalized that happens in the workplace. Speaking plainly and clearly on that, looking at compulsions, addictions, so many things, therapy, spirituality, you know, the idea that, yes, we are our brother's keepers, you know, not much time to go into it in detail, but buy the books, you will not be disappointed. So you can purchase my books, not just on Amazon, all book selling outlets, big and small. You can buy my books there. You can find me on my platforms where I'm there to encourage, inspire, educate, and to share my continued journey and life lessons, because you know our potential is unlimited. So you can go beyond healing and just continue and continue and continue to come into your greatness. So you can find me on my platform, really, you know, sharing that inspiration, that message and encouragement. At Insta, the angle is at From the Heart Soul. At From the Heart Soul. And YouTube, at Inner Side Out. My email, all lowercase, and still I rise 9 at outlook.com. So in this very concise period of time, I hope I've managed to get a message across, and I've also hope I've managed to, you know, encourage you to pick up these 2 books. You know, they'll be well worth the investment. 38 years of expertise packed therein, because I'm always learning and fine-tuning all that I do, and that I believe I have come here to do, I've been called to do. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Well, thanks, Denise, for featuring on this edition of the International Book Show. On display at the moment, you can see a photo of the front cover of her book called Back to Love. Her other book is called Inner Life Rights. Both of those books are available to be purchased from on Amazon. You can also get a copy of the books from other book retailers. Once again, that's author Denise James. Her book titles are Back to Love and Inner Life Rights. And you can purchase the books from Amazon as well as other book retailers. This is the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour video show, October 2024. And at this point, I just want to give a shout out to our business sponsors and business partners. You can see their logos there. There's Jimmy Asher Foundation, Pete English Literature, Polyglot Translation Services, Education for All Now, and Nubia Books. Let's start off with Jimmy Asher Foundation. So Jimmy Asher Foundation, they have sponsored the International Book Show since May 2020, since the very first, show. And you can find out more about Jimmy Asher Foundation via their website. Their website is www.jimmyasherfoundation.org. There's a lot that they do for young people to develop their skills. There's different courses, workshops, activities they put on, sports, drama, music, media, healthy cooking. So there's a lot of, empowerment they're doing for the young people in the community. So check out their website, jimmyasherfoundation.org. Pete English Literature. Now, the videos of the virtual book tour, each month they go on to Pete English Literature, which is a YouTube channel. Some of you may even be watching this video via Pete English Literature YouTube channel. The founder of Pete English Literature YouTube channel is Peter Okonkwo, Polyglot Translation Services. The founder of that is Gyrons. Polyglot Translation Services, they translate books for people, that want to reach a wider audience. So you can have your book translated, for example, in English, into French, into Spanish, into German, Italian. Those are European languages. They also translate people's books into African languages as well. And there's, several authors that have been on the International Book Show that have had their books translated by Polyglot Translation Services. Education for All Now. Education for All Now, founded by Dr. Tamra Foley. They offer consultation for authors, on their journey if they need further assistance, mentoring. Education for All Now, they can help towards publishing a book. Dr. Tamra Foley, she also has a publishing company called Garwell Publishing. So if you're interested in getting your book published, if you go on www.garwellpublishing.com, feel free to reach out to Dr. Tamra Foley. We have Nubia Nagis Books. Nubia Nagis Books, founded by Sister Leggett. I've known Sister Leggett for many years. She's a bookseller. She sells books predominantly by Black British authors. She goes to, events in England, events and marketplaces, and sells her books, on a wide variety of different genre. So that is Nubia Nagis Book. I'd just like to thank other sponsors that we have as well, such as Bertie Dear, George Davis, and also, other people that make a small, monthly donation to support the International Book Show. You are all appreciated.
Hi, my name is Bertie Dear, and I am the author of this book called Worth. It was published in March 2021 by Hay House UK, and I'm very honoured to be here. So thank you, Makonnen, for inviting me on the International Book Show. Okay, so I thought today I would start by reading out the introduction. I was reading it today and I thought, wow, that's a really good introduction. So there's no reason why I can't read it out. So this book is for anyone who's ready to build their self-worth and sense of belonging. Through my life story, I hope to inspire you towards growing your worth. If my journey helps to restore even the smallest sense of belief that no matter what life throws at you, you're valuable and loved, it will have been worthwhile. During my life journey, my worth has been shaped by both negative and positive experiences, just like yours. The challenges, being abandoned by a roadside at birth, dodging more bullets than I'd like to admit, and by this I mean physical bullets, when escaping former President Idi Amin's Uganda. Being of dual heritage, Asian African, growing up amongst those with the inherent prejudicial, judgmental notion that I'd turn up to commit the same deed as my birth mother by having a child out of wedlock. My illegitimate status with so-called dirty blood bringing potential dishonor to the family. Born female when males are so revered. Being a refugee from Uganda. Settling in a strange country. The misery of an incurable skin condition, epidermolysis bullosa, the belief being that this was fatal. Suffering from systemic lupus erythematosus, which is SLE for short, an autoimmune condition, and the belief that I wouldn't live long, and the loss of my adoptive parents. What I've gained from these experiences is the knowledge that we can all change our destinies and find our true purpose in life. The fact that I'm still here, despite the odds, is a testament to this fact. My destiny at birth was a certain death at the hands of another. Just because there was a belief that I wouldn't survive, it didn't mean it had to be my reality. When the voices of doom said I was going to die and that it wouldn't be possible to go to university, hold down a career, become a mother, I still never gave up on my dreams and my aspirations. My life didn't have to head in the direction they were suggesting. Destiny, the divine, angelic forces, call it what you will. Fortunately for me, the way my life was mapped out by others wasn't my reality. It wasn't meant to be. Whatever people said was my destiny didn't happen. So with this in mind, the knowledge that we can all change our destinies is so incredibly powerful. And you can hold on to that knowledge that you can change too. This book deals with the emotional erosion of self-worth that conditions like SLE, epidermolysis bullosa, discriminatory attitudes, prejudices, how that emotional erosion of self-worth can bring somebody's self-worth and self-esteem down. And this book tells you how I found my own way through those turmoils. I now live a full life with a daughter of my own and a career as a social worker helping children. But I spent many years in the margins, not knowing who I was or what my values were. I understand what it is to be displaced, and I know firsthand the prejudice that often comes with it. I was rejected by some in the Indian community in which I grew up in Uganda because I'm illegitimate and dark-skinned. As a girl and then a woman, my Indian culture sought to control every interaction I had. I was set apart because of my illnesses, shunned and bullied at school. I had to learn how to discern true friendship from false, to gather strength on the inside rather than seek others' approval. These challenges have given me a strength that I share with you, so you too can nurture your worth, which is your birthright. Not only that, but wrapped within my story are also those of others whose courage, belief, and strength are equally remarkable. My journey to worth is very much a spiritual one that led me to walk away from traditional religions instead of bringing me a personal relationship with the divine and my guardian angel. Angels have protected me every step of the way, and whenever I've faltered on my path, I know they've helped my sense of worth to grow. My aim is to show you that no matter who you are, what pain you're in, or what you feel inside, you're a human being worthy of love. So this is my book, Worth, and this is the message that I really wanted to give you. And I actually read my introduction today with new eyes, and I thought, wow, that's a really powerful introduction, and it really epitomizes what my book Worth is about. And I really hope you'll pick it up and read it. It's resonated with so many people. I have people writing from all over the world saying how much my story means to them. I've had one person tell me that they were feeling suicidal because of their experiences. And after this book was given to them, it gave them that self-esteem that they so desperately needed. And it gave them a sense of purpose. And now she's writing her story, and she no longer wants to commit suicide. And then I had another one where a father came up to me and said that he lived in Uganda. He had 6 daughters, I think 4 sons. And this book made him realize how he brought up his daughters in comparison to his sons. And this guy was in his 80s, and he called all his daughters to his house. And he said, I'm nearing the end of my life. And he said, before I go, I have one message for all of you. And that is to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the beatings I gave you because you were girls and the way you were brought up differently from your brothers, the way I repressed you, the way I ostracized you. And he held up this book, Worth, and he said, this book has opened my eyes. And he said to me, that day I cried. And he said, in our culture, it's the children who touch the feet of their elders to show respect. And that day I insisted on touching the feet of each of my daughters to say how sorry I am for the way I treated them and to ask their forgiveness. And he said, I can go now in peace, knowing that my daughters have forgiven me. And he said, your book is more powerful than you realize. He said, it will touch those who need to be touched. And I just thought that was such a moving meeting. It really touched me to my core. And so again, I will go back to saying that this book, Worth, is not just about my story, but it echoes the story of millions of men and women, girls and boys across the world, you know, who are facing discrimination or prejudice in any form, or illnesses or treatments. This book covers it all. So I do hope you'll pick it up and that you will buy it. It's available on Amazon. In this country, it's available in Waterstones and leading independent bookshops. And it's also available in Barnes and Noble in the USA. It's in ebooks as well as in some of the other bookstores. I know it's in Canada as well, and Japan. I've heard it's also in Uganda, my home place. So I really hope you'll pick it up and read it. Thank you very, very much. My name is Bertie Dear, author of Worth.
So on display at the moment, you can see the photo of the front cover of the book by Bertie Dear. The book is titled Worth, and you can buy the book from various places, including Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop.org, Booktopia, and Indigo. Once again, that is author Bertie Dear. Her book is titled Worth, and you can buy the book from several websites, including Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop.org, Booktopia, and Indigo.
Hello, my name is Nubia and I am based in London. What's your name?
Aria.
And how old are you, Aria?
6.
Okay. So we're on here today to talk about Aria's new book. What's your book called?
The Trip to Gambia.
Yes, come with me to Gambia. So Aria, I've got some questions here for you. So firstly, why did you want to write a book?
It's because I went the trip to Gambia and I wanted everyone to know I went on a trip to Gambia.
And did you enjoy your trip to Gambia?
Yes.
Okay, so what was your favourite part of the book?
The crocodile.
So tell me about this trip. So the crocodiles.
The crocodile, I tapped it and I fed it.
Yeah, and did you see anything else when you went to see crocodiles?
No.
No? You didn't see monkeys?
Yes.
Oh, I thought so. And what happened with the monkeys?
I fed them at a distance.
You fed them at a distance. What did you feed them?
Peanuts and bananas.
Oh, yummy. Would you write another book again?
Yes.
Yeah? And you said to me before that you want to do books every time you go to different parts of Africa. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah? So your next trip is Ghana, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to write a book about Ghana?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. And where can people buy your book?
On Amazon.
On Amazon. Perfect. So it's easily accessible. Brilliant.
So I'm just going to comment now. So how did this trip, with your daughter Nubia, this is your daughter Aria, how did it come about her going to the Gambia?
So the trip came across with, I've got a relative out in the Gambia, so my auntie Shanice, and I heard lots of amazing stuff about the Gambia. And so I was like, I love traveling, so I need to go to Gambia. And as well, it was very overdue for me to be going to Africa, if I'm honest, So since I started a few years ago, we've been back many times. What I love about the Gambia is people are so friendly, so helpful, always happy. The weather is a bonus, always hot. I love the heat. Not like here in the UK, very cold. So it's somewhere where we're actually going to be going back again soon.
So is it somewhere then that you would, recommend other people, maybe in the diaspora, they're considering a place to go? And also, I'm particularly interested in your daughter's perspective of how, as a child, if she was able to meet people in her age group, or if she would possibly recommend it for other children to go to.
Yeah, I'll highly recommend the Gambia because the Gambia is full of families. And with my daughter, we visit schools, we visit orphanages as well. So when we was out in the school, she went off and playing with the children in the playground. She adapted really well to the culture as well, and improvising what is around to play with as well, which was really lovely to see. I highly recommend it. Especially there's loads of networking out there for diasporas, where we come together and we just do different things. It could be going out clubbing, it could be just going out to eat, going out for a drink, it could be going out to meet on the beach every Sunday, Solomon's Beach. Everyone, if you know, you know. But yeah, so it's really enjoyable, and I definitely would recommend the Gambia. It's
So,
inclusive for all ages, young, small, the older.
so I know you was in Gambia doing some charity work. You've got a charity. Can you mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've got a charity called Liberty of Zion. So Liberty of Zion is a non-profitable charity where we serve the individuals and families that are in need, basically. So I cover different parts of Africa. At the moment, I'm covering the Gambia and Malawi, and also touching base on Ghana. We do a variety of things. So we pay for children to go schooling. We pay for medical treatment. We also visit health clinics and hospitals with medical supplies. And yeah, we literally just anything that comes to our way, then we assist. We recently done a borehole in the Gambia in Old Yumdum. There was a village that didn't have no water. So we created a borehole there for them. And yeah, we've just been, getting up the message out there of who we are, what we're doing. So people that would like, that need as well, are in need, then they can contact us.
So, going back to the book, your daughter's book now, how old is your daughter?
How old are you?
6.
6 years old. Well, that's a very young age. I commend you for being, such a young author. What I want to
Yeah, it was
know
published on
is,
her birthday, her 6th birthday. She started at 5, and we published it at 6 on her 6th birthday.
oh, great. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So, what has been the feedback from you from like, I don't know, your peers, as in, maybe at school, like other kids other children, I should say. What have your friends said to you, like in terms of, any feedback from the book?
So what people said about your book?
What do I say?
Yeah, they enjoyed it. They have said they've given me more the feedback, but you can't remember as well. But yeah, they have enjoyed her book. They've enjoyed the adventure that's in her book as well, and the insight. And they have said to me about, they have actually said that it's very inspiring. They have said that, she has inspired their children to also, go on the same path about writing books at a young age as well, because it's all possible at the end of the day. So you are an inspiration.
So on your display screen at the moment, you can see the photo of the front cover of the book, Come With Me to Gambia, by the young author Aria Haron, who we've, just heard from. You can get a copy of the book via Amazon. So once again, that is author Aria Haron, and the book is titled Come With Me to Gambia, and you can get a copy of the book via Amazon.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tamra Foley, and I'm so happy to be with you today. Today, I'll be talking about my business, Education for All Now, and Garwell Publishing. So I'd like to start out first talking about Education for All Now. So we have a new journal that's out, and we are really focusing on social emotional learning and mental health for students in grades 3 through 8. So the name of our journal is Healing Hearts, Poetry, Reflection, and Art Journal for Kids. And this is comprises of poetry, and throughout the book, it talks about and gives students an opportunity to ask questions, to doodle, to write about their feelings. So I want to just do one for you just as an example. It's called Pause and Breathe. I know it hurts and you are in pain. I know it's happening to you all again. But are you aware of how your heart has been? All the trauma, the misery it has ever seen. At times, it must be overwhelming for you. All the anger and sadness that has been due. You have to pause. You have to take a break for your well-being, your own sake. You have to stay calm and practice self-care, knowing when it's time to pause and share. To share what's bothering your peace, to share what's taking away your ease, so you can be fully functioning and alive, so you can become the best and thrive. And so that's just one. And here are the questions that go along with this. What steps do you take to stay calm? Describe them and how you feel after you've implemented them. Describe a world where everyone is caring and understanding of others. How do you share your trauma experiences? And then draw or doodle what you think when reflecting on this poem. Also with this comes a kit. It's called the Healing Hearts Kit. And in the Healing Hearts Kit, you have a magnet just to always remind you to pause and breathe. You have sour candy, because sometimes when we feel anxiety and we just need to calm, sour candy helps us and it helps to keep us focused. We also have crayons, and just so as you're doodling, whether you want to use crayons or you want to use pencils or whatever. And then you have a affirmation card. And this affirmation card just helps you to think about your space and helps you to think about you. A calming strip, just rubbing it, and when you're feeling anxious, helping you to stay calm. A bookmark to go along with the Healing Hearts journal, and a stress ball. And the stress ball just has different kinds. You care, we care about you, be kind. Since it is so stressful for kids right now, especially they're going back to school, I want to talk just a moment about the suicide rate. And as you notice, the poem talks about trauma. So the suicide rate for African Americans in 2018 for children was 8.2%. Now it has risen to 11.2%. So our kids are experiencing a lot of trauma, and they are thinking about or taking on suicide. And this also, I want to just give you some rates for other areas. So American Indian and Alaskan Native youth, it's at 36.3%. Hispanic or Latino, 7.9%. White youth, 12.4%. And Asian youth, 9.4%. So the suicide rate is going up, and we really have to work on it, really working with our kids, working with teachers, working with schools. So we do have another book for our journal called Healing Trauma. And this is an affirmation journal for teens and tweens. And so this starts again anywhere from grade 6 going all the way through high school. This just helps them, gives them a positive affirmation for the day, and then asks them to do some writing. And then there's also an area for doodling and drawing. And we feel that this is so important with all the stress and everything that our children, our students, our young adults are going through. So we encourage you, just know that you can find these items at cassiesbigchange.com, or you can also find them at Linktree / Tamra Foley. And also you can connect with us on education for the number 4 allnow.org. And we've just added a new blog, and the new blog is called Mending Minds and Healing Hearts. And this blog was inspired by this journal. And so every week you will have information on how to heal the heart, information on benefits of healing, information on mindfulness. So every week there's something different, but we let you know the week before what's coming up so you can look out for that email. If you're not on our email list and would like to be on it, please go to educationforallnow.org and put in your contact. We really, really know and really would like to share with you. You can also go on educationforallnow.org/blog and read the blog each week. Thank you so much. And we're so happy that you are joining us today. And if you have a book that you want to publish, please contact us at garwellpublishing.com. We'd love to help you go from a manuscript to a published author. Thank you.
You just heard from Dr. Tamra Foley. Dr. Tamra Foley, she is an author. As well as being an author, she's also a publisher. Her books are the Cassie's Big Change series and the children's book journal called Healing Hearts. The Cassie's Big Change series and Healing Hearts, they can be purchased via her website, which is educationforallnow.org/shop. You can also go on cassiesbigchange.com regarding the Cassie's Big Change series. And if you're interested in her publishing services, Garwell Publishing, the website to go on is www.garwellpublishing.com. We're coming to a conclusion of this episode of the International Book Show. Thank you for watching the show, and I hope you enjoyed it. I know there were some fantastic authors that was talking about, books on a range of different subjects. If you're an author, a bookseller, a publisher, or someone in the book industry, and you would like to feature on one of the International Book Show virtual book tour video shows in the future, feel free to contact me. You can contact me by email. The email address is info@internationalbookshow.com. That is info@internationalbookshow.com. Alternatively, you can go on our website. The website is www.internationalbookshow.com, www.internationalbookshow.com, and you can fill in the contact us form, which is on the contact us section, or you can go on the Be a Show guest section, and there's also a contact us form there. And basically, you just declare your interest, fill in the form declaring your interest to come on the show, and I will reach back out to you. We are always looking for more authors, publishers, booksellers, and people, to feature on the show. If you're an author and you are looking at getting one of your books translated into another language, we have a partnership with Polyglot Translation Services, who they translate books into a wide variety of, different languages, from English, it could be into French, Spanish, Portuguese, German. These are European languages, but they also do African language translation and other language translation as well. So if you would like to, talk to us about getting your book translated into another language, or at least get a quote, feel free to reach out to me by email, info@internationalbookshow.com, or you can go on the website, which is www.internationalbookshow.com, and there's a section there which says book language translation. You can read the section, and at the bottom of there's a contact us form where you can contact us. I would like to also mention to join the International Book Show Facebook group. We currently have under 2,000 subscribers. We want to get to 2,000 very, very soon. So join the International Book Show Facebook group. If you just simply go on the International Book Show and search it on Facebook, it will come up and you can join the group. That's the best place to go to be updated, about our latest shows, not just the virtual book tour video show, which happens once a month, but also our bi-weekly well, I should say our weekly radio shows, which happen every single week. And, also, information about authors that come on the show and just general updates regarding the International Book Show. So at this point, I just would like to, thank the authors that featured on the show, and also thank you, the listeners, for watching the show and listening to the show wherever in the world you decided to join us from. And I would just like to say goodbye, and please listen again and watch the next edition of the International Book Show Virtual Book Tour, which will be in November 2024. Take care and goodbye.